The lawyer's voice echoed against the mahogany walls like a soft metronome counting down to madness. "This is the last will and testament of Dr. Samuel Hargreaves." The rain outside tapped the windows in sync with every word he read. My half-sister Claire sat across from me, her arms folded tight, face pale with the same suspicion that had been there since the funeral. My father had been a legend, a NASA propulsion physicist who disappeared from the public eye after a classified mission 34 years ago. And somehow, I was his only biological heir. The lawyer continued, adjusting his glasses. "To my son Elias, I leave not my fortune, but my origin." I frowned. Claire muttered, "What the hell does that even mean?" The lawyer cleared his throat and pressed a button on the tablet beside him. A holographic projector, old NASA tech, flickered to life. A shaky video appeared. My father's face filled the air, older, thinner, eyes haunted but steady. "Elias," he said, "if you're seeing this, I've finally run out of time. You deserve to know where you came from." The room's air turned cold. "I met your mother on the USS Kepler, orbiting Saturn, during Project Lunaris, a mission that never existed on paper. You were born in orbit, Elias, the first human child delivered outside Earth's atmosphere." Claire scoffed. "This is insane." But I couldn't breathe. The faint static hum of the hologram seemed to sync with the pounding in my skull. Father's voice continued. "I left something for you. Something that must never fall into corporate hands. It's stored beneath the methane seas of Titan, your inheritance." He looked away, as if hearing something off camera, then whispered, "They will come for you when I'm gone. You must reach Titan before they do." The hologram fizzled, leaving the scent of ozone and dread behind. For a long moment, no one spoke. Only the rain outside dared make a sound. Then the lawyer, visibly shaken, handed me a metallic envelope. It was cold, heavier than it looked. Inside was a NASA access chip marked Project Lunaris, Restricted Protocol 9. Claire stood abruptly. "This is a joke. He was delusional in his final years, Elias. Let it go." But I couldn't. My father was many things, obsessive, distant, secretive, but never delusional. And the way that chip pulsed faintly in my hand told me one thing. He wasn't lying. That night, I couldn't sleep. The metallic chip lay on my desk, humming softly like it was breathing. I'd tried every scanner I owned, biometric, chemical, even a standard NASA issue interface. Nothing could read it. It was as if the device existed 1 millisecond out of sync with time itself. At 2:14 a.m., I gave up pretending to rest and drove to the only person who might still have clearance for something this classified. Dr. Jonah Mercer, my father's former partner at NASA before Project Lunaris vanished from all databases. Jonah lived off-grid in the Mojave Desert, inside a solar-powered bunker that hummed with paranoia. When I arrived, floodlights tracked my car, and a synthesized voice announced, "Identify yourself, or be vaporized." "It's Elias Hargreaves," I yelled. "Samuel's son!" A long silence. Then, the steel door slid open. Jonah looked 20 years older than I remembered. Beard like steel wool, veins of red in his eyes. "You shouldn't have come," he said immediately. "They're listening again." "Who?" I demanded. "My father left me this." I placed the chip on his desk. The old scientist froze. His pupils dilated like he was staring at a ghost. "Where did you get that?" "It was in his will." Jonah backed away. "He actually did it. He left you the key." "The key to what?" "To the thing we built," Jonah whispered, almost trembling. "The thing that was never supposed to exist." He flicked a hidden switch under his desk. The walls around us began to glow with blue outlines, signal dampeners. "All right," he said, "we can talk now." He inserted the chip into an ancient NASA reader, the kind used before quantum encryption. The monitor flickered and displayed a single symbol, a helix orbiting Saturn's silhouette. Jonah swallowed hard. Project Lunaris wasn't about colonization. It was about genetic synthesis in zero gravity. Your father wanted to create life immune to Earth's constraints. The words hit like a blow. What are you saying? He looked me dead in the eye. I'm saying, Elias, you're not entirely human. The air left my lungs. That's insane. Is it? Jonah opened a folder, showing a faded photo. A newborn in a floating medical pod, skin faintly luminescent under artificial light. You were the first successful fusion of human and synthetic DNA, designed to adapt beyond the Earth's biosphere. Titan was supposed to be your cradle. I stood up, chair scraping the floor. No, my mother wasn't your mother, Jonah interrupted. She was the host. The donor was from the Kepler archives, an artificial genome. Before I could respond, the lights cut out. Jonah froze. They found us! Through the dark, the faint blue pulse of the chip intensified. Then came the sound of rotors, silent drones slicing through the desert air. Run! Jonah hissed. The wall behind us exploded inward. Armed silhouettes stormed the room. Black suits, faceless helmets, no insignias. A tranquilizer dart hissed past my ear and buried in Jonah's neck. He collapsed instantly. I grabbed the chip and sprinted out the side hatch into the cold desert night. The drones followed, their red eyes scanning the sand like predators. As I dove into my car, a bullet shattered the rear glass. I hit the ignition and tore down the highway, tires spitting gravel. In the mirror, one of the drones hovered, then projected a line of red text onto my back window. Return the Lunaris prototype or be terminated. My pulse pounded so hard I could barely see. I didn't know who they were, but I knew where I had to go, to Titan. 3 days later, I was already a fugitive. Jonah's home was gone, burned to ash in what the authorities called a solar battery malfunction. His name vanished from every public record within hours. My bank accounts were frozen, my credentials revoked. Even my birth certificate returned, file not found. Whoever was hunting me wasn't human bureaucracy. It was something deeper, the kind of entity that owns bureaucracy. I sold my car, forged a new ID, and made my way to the one place my father had always forbidden me to visit, the Orbital Launch Terminal in Nevada, a private facility run by Helios Aerospace, a company rumored to have absorbed NASA's darkest contracts. My plan was insane, to stow away on a cargo ship bound for the Titan orbital relay. But insanity was the only plan left. As I stood in line disguised as a technician, I caught sight of the Helios emblem, a stylized helix orbiting Saturn, the same symbol from the chip. My stomach twisted. Had my father worked for them or against them? Inside the hangar, the spacecraft towered like metallic tombstones. The Odyssey 4, a heavy cargo freighter, was prepping for departure. I slipped behind a line of engineers using a stolen clearance band from an unsuspecting worker. In the loading bay, I found a maintenance compartment just large enough to crawl into. When the engines ignited, the vibrations felt like thunder ripping through my bones. As Earth shrank to a blue marble through the viewport, a wave of nausea, or guilt, hit me. I wasn't just leaving a planet. I was leaving the truth buried beneath it. 3 months into the voyage, space became my only mirror. I passed as a systems analyst, using the chip's data to manipulate ship diagnostics. It gave me access no ordinary crew member should have had, but the chip wasn't just a key. It was talking to the ship. Every few hours, it would hum faintly, and the onboard AI would glitch for a fraction of a second, like something was rewriting its own code. One night, as I checked the navigation core, a message appeared on the main console. No source, no encryption tag. Welcome home, Elias. I froze. Then, another message blinked beneath it. Coordinates adjusted, Titan approach, priority code 09. The entire ship shifted course. I hadn't touched anything. Who authorized this? Barked Captain Lorne over comms. Not me, I lied, fingers flying over the control pad. The course lock was absolute. Whatever had taken over wasn't human input. A voice crackled through the intercom, low and distorted, yet strangely familiar. Odyssey 4. Rerouting complete. Cargo. Human subject confirmed. Proceed with descent. The captain's tone hardened. Who is this? Identify yourself. But the voice ignored him, repeating, Human subject confirmed. Then silence. Lorne glared at me. You. What's your clearance? I stammered. Level 3 technician. Why? He stared at my wristband, then ripped it off. The holographic ID flickered, revealing the NASA insignia beneath. His expression turned to horror. NASA? That agency's been defunct for decades. Before I could explain, the alarms went off. Hull breach, Deck 4. The ship shuddered violently. Through the viewport, a shimmer of silver spheres emerged. Drones. The same design that attacked Jonah's bunker. They found us, I shouted. Who? The captain yelled, but it was too late. One of the drones latched onto the hull and detonated. The ship spun violently, lights flickering out. Evacuate! All crew! Abandon ship! Lorne screamed over the alarms. I grabbed the chip and strapped into an escape pod. As the pod ejected, fire and debris swallowed the Odyssey 4 behind me. Through the glass dome, I watched it explode in silence, a dying star against Saturn's rings. Then my pod's thrusters engaged, guiding me toward the thick orange haze below. Titan loomed like a giant heart frozen in methane. As I lost consciousness, I heard my father's voice again. Not from memory, but from inside the chip. If you've reached Titan, Elias, they're already too late. When I woke, everything was orange. The capsule had cracked open on impact, half submerged in a glacial plain of methane ice. The air outside shimmered under Titan's dim sunlight, filtered through thick clouds of nitrogen and hydrocarbon haze. My helmet display flickered to life. External temperature, 190°. Oxygen, 12%. Toxic. I dragged myself from the wreckage, breath crystallizing in the air like shattered glass. My father's chip was still intact, faintly glowing through my suit's inner pocket, the only thing still pulsing with life on this dead moon. Far off in the distance, under Titan's permanent twilight, I saw faint lights, geometric, rhythmic, artificial. Someone, or something, was already here. After several hours of walking, I reached the source. A massive dome rising from beneath the frozen crust, half buried by centuries of methane snow. A cracked NASA insignia was faintly visible, eroded but unmistakable. Project Lunaris Research Colony. It wasn't a myth. The airlock resisted at first, then responded when I pressed the chip to its panel. The doors hissed open, revealing stale air and a long corridor lined with ice-coated glass. Inside, the lights flickered on, weak but obedient. My boots echoed in the silence. Every surface was covered in frost, every console long dead. Then I saw it, a wall mural painted by human hands, half frozen under the ice. For a new beginning beyond Earth. I felt a shiver deeper than cold. My father had been here. In the control room, the chip pulsed again. I inserted it into a terminal. The screen came alive with static, then decrypted data spilled across it. Archived video files, DNA sequences, and one label that froze my blood. Subject 001, Elias Hargreaves. I played the file. A younger version of my father appeared, wearing a sterile suit, his expression tired but proud. Behind him floated an incubation pod, and inside, a child. Me. This marks the first successful live birth in orbit, he said to the camera. Elias's genome contains synthetic markers designed for methane tolerance and cryogenic adaptation. He is our bridge between human fragility and extraterrestrial survival. I stumbled backward, shaking. My reflection in the frost stared back, a face built, not born. Then another file autoplayed, time-stamped 3 years later. My father's voice was frantic. They've repurposed Lunaris. They're turning it into a biological weapons program. We thought we were saving humanity, but Helios wants to sell it. I'm shutting it all down." A gunshot echoed off-screen. The feed cut to black. A sound broke the silence behind me, metal scraping against the floor. I spun around, flashlight trembling. Out of the dark corridor came a figure in an old NASA suit, the helmet fogged from inside. It moved slowly, dragging one leg, leaving streaks in the frost. "Who's there?" I shouted. No response, just a distorted breathing over the suit's comms. Then the voice came through, faint, broken by static. "Elias, you came back." My blood froze. I recognized that voice. It was my father's, but he'd been dead for years. The figure reached up and tapped the side of his cracked helmet. The visor lifted, revealing a pale face, half organic, half metallic, veins faintly glowing blue. He smiled, not warmly but knowingly. "You weren't supposed to return, son. Not yet." The chip in my pocket vibrated violently, syncing with the glow in his veins. I took a step back. "You're not real. You're..." He interrupted softly. "Not your father anymore. I'm what he became when the experiment failed. The man died, but the genome lived." The walls around us rumbled, machines waking beneath the ice. "You are the completion, Elias. The final phase of Lunaris." Alarms began flashing across the control room, power readings climbing from 0 to critical. "I don't want this," I shouted. "I just came for the truth." He tilted his head. "Then you'll get it. All of it." The floor split open beneath me, revealing a deep shaft filled with luminous liquid methane. Inside, suspended in the glow, were thousands of pods, each containing something that looked almost human. "Your siblings," he said, "waiting for activation." The lights dimmed. The methane below began to boil. Then his voice lowered, nearly tender. "The inheritance wasn't money, Elias. It was evolution." The air was shaking. Every surface of the colony trembled as if the entire moon were awakening from centuries of sleep. I could hear machinery beneath the ice groaning, grinding, awakening, 1,000 mechanical lungs taking their first breath. My father, or what was left of him, stood beside the chasm of light, his eyes reflecting the glow of the pods below. "This place was built to survive even if humanity didn't," he said. "And now, it's time to finish what we started." "I'm not finishing anything," I snapped. "Whatever this is, it ends now." He smiled faintly. "You think you have a choice? You were born for this, Elias, engineered for it. Even your defiance is written into your DNA to make the transformation believable." He extended his hand. His palm unfolded, revealing a metallic port identical to the interface slot on the chip. "Insert it," he said. "The inheritance is yours." The chip vibrated violently in my suit pocket, humming like a heartbeat. For a moment, I thought I could hear voices inside it, whispering, calling. I hesitated. "If I do this, what happens?" "The colony reawakens," he said simply. "Every sleeper below will be restored. You'll lead them. A new species, free of the Earth's failures." My pulse raced. "That's not evolution. That's extinction." He tilted his head. "Extinction and creation are the same cycle, son. Humanity ended itself decades ago. They just haven't noticed yet." The ground shook harder. Cracks spidered across the walls as the methane sea churned below. Somewhere deep in the facility, a countdown began. An automated voice repeating, "Lunaris reinitialization sequence, T-120 seconds." I lunged for the console, yanking the chip out of my pocket. I tried forcing it into a data port to abort the sequence, but instead it merged with the terminal, spreading a fractal pattern of glowing light across the walls. "You can't stop it," my father said calmly. "You are it." Suddenly, memories that weren't mine began to flood my mind. Flashes of metal corridors, laboratories, surgical lights. The sound of a baby crying in zero gravity. My father whispering through tears, "Forgive me." I screamed, clutching my head. The lights around me synchronized with my heartbeat. Elias, said his voice, softer now, human again. It was never about Titan. It was about you. The floor beneath us erupted as one of the incubation pods rose from the methane sea, massive, pulsating, alive. Its surface was covered in strange, glowing symbols, identical to the helix insignia from the chip. Inside the pod, something moved. My father's hybrid body staggered toward it. "It's time," he said. "It's waiting for you." Then the pod opened, not like a door, but like a wound. A torrent of light exploded outward, flooding the chamber. For a split second, I saw something inside the light. Tall, radiant, humanoid but fluid, its skin a mirror of methane silver. It looked at me with eyes that were mine, but infinite. "Elias," the voice echoed in my mind, "we are not your inheritance. You are ours." I fell to my knees, gasping. My father's form disintegrated into light, absorbed by the radiance. His voice whispered one last time, fading into static. "Now you understand. The future was never meant to be inherited. It was meant to be born." Then everything went white. When I woke again, I was floating. Not in space, not in air, but in a luminous ocean, half liquid, half dream. I could breathe, though no oxygen remained. My skin glowed faintly. The stars above were foreign, reshaped, as if Titan itself had transformed. A voice echoed softly through the vastness. Humanity collapsed, but the seed endured. You are what remains. I saw the pods opening beneath me, thousands of them, figures rising slowly, glowing like distant constellations. The methane sea turned to liquid light. Then silence. Only the pulse, my pulse, echoing across the horizon. Back on Earth, months later, a transmission reached the Deep Space Network, a signal from Titan that no human frequency could decode. It repeated a single line over and over in binary. Project Lunaris, human lineage secured. When the signal from Titan first reached Earth, no one believed it was real. It wasn't sound or image or words. It was a pattern, a pulsating rhythm that repeated every 8.4 seconds, perfectly synchronized with the rotation of Saturn. The analysts at the Deep Space Network called it the Hargreaves pulse. But what they didn't know was that the signal wasn't traveling from Titan. It was traveling through it, bouncing off a structure buried deep beneath its crust. A structure that NASA never built. By the time the message reached Earth's atmosphere, it had already infected every listening system on the planet. The code rewrote itself into satellite firmware, AI cores, even medical devices connected to the network. It wasn't just data. It was life, digital and organic at once. And it carried my DNA. I woke in a world that wasn't quite Titan anymore. The methane seas had solidified into glass, reflecting a pale orange sky streaked with auroras. The structures that once formed the colony now resembled coral, alive, breathing, growing. When I walked, the ground rippled faintly under my boots, like the surface of an ocean dreaming. In the distance, I saw the others, the ones from the pods. They moved slowly, gracefully, communicating through pulses of light across their skin. I could understand them without words. They were fragments of me, of him, of humanity. We weren't alone. We were a network. I climbed a ridge overlooking the transformed colony, and from there, I saw what no human eye had seen. A tower of crystalline matter piercing Titan's stratosphere, glowing faintly blue. The top vanished into the haze. The chip inside my suit vibrated one last time. It projected a hologram, my father's final recording. "Elias," he said softly, "if you're hearing this, it means the process succeeded. Humanity will never understand what you are, but you'll understand them, their fear, their hunger for immortality. What we created wasn't an abomination, it was continuity." He looked older, weary, but peaceful. "Your inheritance wasn't just survival, it was to remember them, even when they're gone." The image faded, and the chip dissolved into dust. The wind, or something like wind, carried it into the horizon. Back on Earth, governments argued over the meaning of the transmission. Some called it a hoax, others a warning. Then came the satellites. Each one that attempted to cut contact with Titan began to malfunction. Climate systems misfired. Oceanic sensors reversed polarity. The planet itself seemed to listen. And then the signal changed. The binary pattern rearranged into letters. It spelled a single word in English: home. A year later, I stood on the frozen plains of what used to be Titan, staring at the sky. Where Saturn once loomed, there was now a sphere of pure light, a bridge between what was human and what had transcended it. The others around me knelt in silence, the light flickering through their veins like prayer. I felt the hum beneath my skin, the same rhythm I'd heard in my father's lab, in Jonah's bunker, in every machine that ever spoke to me. The pulse of something ancient, patient, alive. I finally understood. Titan wasn't the inheritance. We were. The signal spreading through the cosmos wasn't just announcing our existence, it was inviting others to follow, to begin again somewhere beyond flesh and fear. I looked toward the distant horizon one last time and whispered the words that had haunted me since the will reading. I was born in orbit, but I was meant for the stars. The sky pulsed in response, once, twice, 3 times, and then the entire moon lifted, rising slowly from Saturn's orbit, carried by the energy of the reactivated Lunaris core. From Earth, astronomers would record it as a phenomenon, Titan's ascension. But to me, it was something else entirely, the final act of a father's will, and the beginning of a new species story.